The old tree is moving again. We were told by the elders it holds all the evil of men deep inside, and it only moves when the deepest fog sets in. There's even a prophecy that claims that when the tree of Rowan passes through the gates into Eden, the end of time begins. The elders claim that Eden is the old graveyard at the end of the lane. Eden, the ancient garden of paradise, and a freaking ancient graveyard. We are the grove of fairies who watch the tree, but we don't get too close. After all, it's creepy and dangerous. It's always It always moves as though the wind were whispering to it, and it alone. The tree is as tall as any redwood, but it never grows any leaves. It looks dead, spots barren of branch or bark. The ground around the tree in a 30-foot circle will grow nothing. What fairy in its right mind would go anywhere near it? Not I, that's for sure. Still, the elders insist that we have to keep an eye on it at all times. The prophecy is so out there. I mean, it speaks of the dead walking. Come on, zombies? Really? How does that affect us? Fairies, once dead, don't come back. Humans can't reach this place. We are hidden in a demi-dimension, a pocket, if you will. Though my people can easily pass into the prime, most of the fairy groves are hidden. Though it seems like most of the older fairies believe it, the prophecy really sounds like something straight out of human nightmares. We fairies don't believe in nightmares, though it seems like most of the older fairies believe in prophecy. There are even some of the eldest Fae who say that they have had to fight the tree back away from the gate. Their stories are just too fantastic to be true. Sure, they're fun to listen to at the nightly fire, but that doesn't make them true. Rowan doesn't like the light. Who has ever heard of a tree that doesn't like light? My sister and I inherited positions as light keepers. That is not unheard of, as it is passed down our family line for over 100 generations. We are supposed to make sure that there is always light shining on Rowan. Our mother and our aunt were light keepers before us. One day in the third year, they went to check on the tree and never returned. The elders claimed that the fog and their fears took them. Only Lady Fae can keep the light, though I have never understood why. I am not sure that the term lady fits me. I have never been comfortable with the labels that people have tried to place on me. My twin sister was so easily frightened at the world, uh, that she would often cling to me as she went to check on the old tree. The elders would ask us to check on it at least once a week, although they really wanted us to do it more often, unless the fog came in. Then we needed to check on it several times that night. Some of the foggy nights we camped out by the tree. Most of the time I really didn't mind the job. Yeah, the tree was creepy, but to believe it was made of the evil of men, psh, I got so much better things to think about. I thought that I was fearless. To hear the elders talk, I shirked my duties all the time. Mistress Koalani, the shaman, often said, Shaira, you and Kyla need to take Rowan seriously. There are things at stake beyond your understanding. Please start paying more attention. It isn't that we didn't pay attention, more that it all seemed too made up. How much we missed her. She was one of the first to disappear on the first night of the fog. The next night changed my mind and my life. We went to check as we had nightly for the last week. The fog hung thickly in the village. Rowan stood at the gate, 3 whole feet from where it was before. We hurried back to the village to sound the alarm. Kalia looked so pale, eyes wide as we flew. I was not sure if the old graveyard was Eden. To be honest, I didn't care. I was not taking the chance. Trees were not supposed to move their roots. This one moved 3 feet farther down the lane. The truth was setting in. The remaining elders laughed at our urgency. I didn't understand why they suddenly didn't seem to care. The fairies are supposed to just watch, Rowan. We are not supposed to stop it. Not until it crossed through the gate. They say that I am a traitor for calling for the village to fight. Maybe I am. I spoke the truth that they were unwilling to hear. I did what I had to do. It had moved again. It was my responsibility to stop it. Rowan is supposed to end the world, and I am not willing to allow that to happen. So I will be a traitor. I refuse to watch as Rowan enters the gate. I proceeded to gather those who were willing to help me defeat the tree. It took me half the week to get them gathered, far longer than I wanted it to. The elders did nothing to stop or to assist me in my actions. The sudden apathy was confusing, and I was not sure how to deal with it. There had been so many fairies disappearing from the village on a daily basis lately. The last week has seen half of the fairies of our village missing. Whispers of them running into the human world, though I think it was to keep the calm more than being true. Only half of the elders were still in the village, and a good many of the remaining fairies were scared to leave their houses. Chaos had set in quickly. The last 2 days before Rowan moved, the fog was too thick to even see a foot in front of your face. I cannot say that I would blame the fairies that did run. At least I hoped they ran. I didn't know for sure either way. If they had not run, I was left to wonder what had happened to them. One of the fighters whispered tales of the seduction of evil. How the weak-hearted would gladly accept the gifts offered. Rowan was my responsibility. The fairies were not. I felt the weight of that responsibility, gathering up fighters, checking on Rowan nightly. I was trying not to hear the tales whispered by the ones who fought last time. I added extra light, for I did not want to be lax in the duty I was given. Seeing the tree move scared me. The light was for me a shield, though in truth, by this point, it was no more than a finger in a bursting dike. The day before the battle, Kalia disappeared. I felt the frustration and the fear that her loss brought. I tried not to think about what it meant. She was always afraid, after all. She ran. She had to have. The alternative was just too hard for me to accept. For the fight, I put her out of my mind. Each day more were gone. By the time we were ready to fight, the fighters were all that remained in the village. The total fairies to face the danger ahead. 10 of them. Not a fairy one brought up this fact that was carved deeply on every face there. We were the warriors for the light. We would fight Rowan back from the gate this very night. The non-fighters were all gone. We were armed with swords, whips, or mace. Instead, we were armed not with swords, whips, or mace. Instead, we carried torch and magical light. One of the strongest of us carried a flaming axe. I don't know if Rowan could be cut down, or what the consequences would be if we even managed such. How do you kill the evil that resides within the hearts of men? Our fight would be light and goodness versus the darkness of evil. But would it be enough? The half-rotten branches swung wildly at the light, though there was no breeze to cause the movement. It had to be the tree. The tree seemed nearly dead, rotting away, half-eaten, though no animal or insect would go near it. Though it swung wildly, all its branches managed to catch a fairy. It flung her and her light towards the setting sun. That tree was so damned accurate. How was it able to tell where we were is beyond my comprehension. I mean, how can a tree see? We couldn't fight until nearly dusk. The rules of encounter forbade approaching any earlier. I argued that the rules bound us and gave Rowan the upper hand. The older fighters refused to hear, saying only that by following the rules would light triumph. I was overruled, and it was nearly dusk as we flew to the fight. The prophecy said that when the light bringers with the purest of hearts fought against the tree of dark, the souls stolen would be returned, and the darkness would be temporarily knocked back to the start. How could we know if our hearts were pure? Was I going to be the reason why we lost? I am not anywhere near pure. I'm the village screw-up. Duty in the end is what matters, right? So I swallowed my doubt. I cast another light spell into the ever-growing darkness. I prayed internally that my choices wouldn't damn everyone. The fairy with the flaming axe swung at the base of the tree. He missed, something that he had never done up till then. The axe passed through Rowan as though it were not even there. The tree dropped off 2 branches, and 3 others blackened. Not from the axe. I think it was from my light. Realization is painful sometimes. The fight was not for all of my fairies. It was for me and Rowan, and us alone. Fear crawled through my belly, tearing my guts up with an almost callous indifference. Swallowing it, I yelled for the rest of my fairies to form a light circle around us. I brought myself up even with the tree, and prepared all of my light to shine through the darkness. I wanted to bring it all to an end. I put all of my energy into the light spell I was casting. I believed that the spell would end it, and I was willing to be ended in the process. My sacrifice would make it safe for those I was there to protect, and I was fine with this. The spell went off with a blinding flash, knocking me back. I landed out of the circle, taking my axe Fae backwards with me. By the time I awoke, I was alone. Rowan was restored to its original place. I reinforced the light around the tree and made my way back home. The village was completely back to its old self. I cried when I saw Mistress Kaolini. Kaolini. I flew over and hugged her like I had been away from her for years. She smiled faintly and said, "What is wrong, child, and where's your twin?" I think that is when I broke. She listened quietly as I told her my tale. Her eyes her eyes calm even as the tears started to flow. That was when I realized that there was more than I was seeing in my own story. As the tale drew close, she sighed. Her response left me nearly undone. I just saw you yesterday. You and your sister left last night to check Rowan. Apparently, your twin sister was ill-suited to watch the evil tree. You have proven yourself. Come and break your fast, child. We will mourn her together. So, all of it was in my head. Somehow, I was not surprised. That tree would eventually end the world. Right there, I swore it would not be on my watch. I felt that I owed Kylie that much.